Welcome to this week's episode of Kingdom Calls, where we discuss all things GAA. And in particular, we're looking this week at our Kerry team. And we're going to look back in a moment at the All-Ireland semi-final, when Kerry had a fine win over their old adversaries, Tyrone. And they will, of course, be meeting Donegal in the final, and Donegal more or less made mincemeat, as the old man said, of Meath on the day. Things just didn't go well for Meath. And we will also be discussing the retirement of Tommy Walsh, one of the greats from Kerins O'Rahillys, just a couple of weeks or a couple of months after David Moran. So the two iconic figures in Strand Road will not be kicking ball in the club championship this year. So we have a man here who will tell us all that breaking news. Now, we're short one or two from our regulars this week. One man is at an All-Ireland ladies underage final, and somebody else is attending a funeral. But a man who does neither is our newlywed deputy or whatever sports editor,
chief bottle washer,
and chief sports writer, maybe, and deputy editor and bottle washer of the Kerryman newspaper. Very knowledgeable on all sports except GAA matters. That is Damien Stack.
Yeah, and I'm sitting in the John Kennedy position, and I don't have 3 All-Irelands in a row, one, unfortunately.
I thought you did dancing as a young guy.
No, I have no rhythm. I'm afraid. No.
And you married a singer, isn't that right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A guy who can't dance, and he's married to a singer. That doesn't add up to me. Anyway, on to a man who is making a guest appearance with us tonight, and we're glad.
Thanks, Mark.
Because when we didn't have a home and nowhere to go, this man and his club in Kerins O'Rahillys put us up, and we are grateful for that. Rent was a bit, but we got over it. It was free of charge, actually, and we're very grateful. Pat Flavin is the PRO of Kerins O'Rahillys. Pat, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Mark.
This evening. And of course, we have the wise old owl, although he's not old by any means. That is the man. And look, Clive is a coach. Clive O'Callaghan is a brilliant coach. He is currently with Art Fert. He's married to a woman from Kilmoyley. His father-in-law would have won the Greyhound Derby in 1994 with a greyhound called Joyful Tidings. And he's a man who is always joyful and has loads of tidings. Clive, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Mark.
That's the last time you'll tell me who you're married to. So,
Likewise.
Good job, Pat didn't tell me. Now, Pat Flavin, we're going to start with you.
That's
Tommy Walsh. I remember Tommy when he was under 14 and he was the size he is today almost in height. And he was able to bully everyone at 14, 16. He was so prominent. Of course, the brothers, Barry John, great player out the Green and Strand Road, etc. He's in the States now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And of course, Shawnee as well, who's still playing up there. And their father was in college with me when he was a couple of years behind me. Shawnee, the great Kerry football midfielder who became a fullback. So, Tommy, All-Ireland medal winner in 2009, but under 21 winner in 2008, young player of the year, etc. What has happened? His body, I suppose, won't take it anymore, basically.
Look, Mort, I'd just say that I suppose at the end of the day, he has been through the mill with injuries, particularly since he went to Australia. He had a hamstring off the bone in 2013, which seriously curtailed his efforts to make it in Australia. He also had
clubs in Australia.
He went out to St Kilda and spent a couple of seasons there, and then he moved to the Sydney Swans, and then that was over a period of 5 years. After that, then he returned to Strand Road in 2014. I think it's a miracle that he was actually able to play when he came back, because the injury was career-ending for a lot of people that had it.
Just off the bone in 2 places,
It was off the bone in 2 places. Yeah. Plus, he had a shoulder injury and surgery while he was out there. So, you know, when he came back, he was still in good shape. but still carrying a lot of injuries.
And he came back then to the club, obviously.
Came back
and
to
in 2014.
2014,
and Morris invited him in with Kerry in 2015.
2015, yeah,
And
exactly.
he played there for a couple of years.
Played there for 2 years. So 2016, then he opted out of the panel. He wasn't getting too many opportunities, too many chances, and he probably felt that maybe he was wasting his time. He wanted to concentrate on the club. I suppose you could say that the club was his first love. Stranraer was where he learned his football at underage up along. He was part of a team that won county under 12, 14, 16 and minor in 2006, and I was just looking back there. It was a final played between Kerins O'Rahillys and Dr. Croke's Division 1 League final that went extra time. And when you look at some of the players that were in it, you obviously Tommy was in it in Stranraer side. You had Denny O'Sullivan, Liam Kissan, who captained the Kerry Miners after, Sean Higgins, Con Barrett, who's still playing, Barry John Keane, Barry John Welsh, and David Morton. Ross O'Callaghan couldn't make that team and captained the Munster club side in 2022. You look at the players on the other side then, you had Fionn Fitzgerald, Mike Maloney with centre back, Johnny Buckley, Jamie Doolan, Dahi Casey. And that was the foundation, I suppose, really for the later teams where you had the two Barry Johns particularly and Tommy and David. You know, they were the stars really of that side.
And I suppose the county. Then he came back. Peter Keane brought him back in with Kerry.
Peter brought him back.
And he came on as a sub. Was it the first day?
He came on as a sub against Dublin 2019, around the same time as Killian Spillane. Kerry were a man up. He did very well. I mean, I suppose the goal that brought Kerry back into it was engineered by himself. He won the ball under the Cusack stand and passed it off to Killian and put him through. He had a big influence in that game, and I suppose we would have been disappointed in Stranraer that he wasn't given a chance to start in the replay and was introduced probably late enough in the game to have any influence. But
and then we had COVID, and then was it 2021 you reached the county final, or 2022?
2021 we reached the county final.
And David Moore went off after 5 minutes.
Went off after 5 minutes. Gavin
William Harmon was in charge, wasn't it?
William was there. Gavin O'Brien was injured in the warm-up. Con Barrett was concussed after about 20 minutes. So, I mean, it was going to get ugly at one stage.
He didn't lose it by much, did he?
Lost by 3 in the finish. That's all, yeah. But
it'd be lovely to have won that county, because was it 60? 202 he won the previous one, was
202 and you lost
Mike Quirk and
Declan Quill. You lost the 2008 and you were beaten with the last kick of the match against Mid-Kerry with a penalty.
Was it a replay?
No, that was just it was a game you lost in injury time, and in 2021 against Rock. No, they were deserving winners, but we were seriously curtailed on the day. So I think, but he's
been struggling the last couple of years, though. He's been playing well, but injury has always cost him.
Again, like I suppose, and not so much even the hamstring, but the shoulder was giving him a lot of trouble. There was times like he couldn't really lift his left hand over his head. You know, but
he came on a full forward, I remember, in one game, and he changed it. Like, he still had that ability, and he still, you know, the body was telling him you can't do, but he still tried everything to play.
He still, I suppose, had that innate football ability, you know, and I mean, like
it's a physical presence, Pat, because
you
know, like we're saying, injuries and that. He was always a specimen right up to the end of his and he's still now, like, obviously, but
one of his greatest games would have been, based on your statement today, Pat, would have been he was man of the match in the Munster club final. And then went on and unlucky. Were he unlucky that day? Was it Crokes he played?
Kilmacud
Crokes,
he went in there as massive underdogs, and David Moore and himself gave.
Well, David gave an exhibition that day in midfield, and I mean, like, Kilmacud couldn't kick out the ball without finding him, and which was a huge plus. He had a magnificent game. Tommy did his stuff. We were well down at one stage. It was 111-7, but we brought it back to 114 to 14 points at the end. And you know, the likes of David and Tommy gave great leadership. I suppose one game that I'd remember as much as how he played, and I know he was superb in the Munster final against Newcastle West in Mallow on the day. He scored a great goal, laid down another one for Barry John, got man of the match. But I go back to game in 2018. We played Field Rangers in the first round in the Stole, and winners played winners that time. So we were drawn against Crokes in the second round. So we played Crokes in Fitzgerald Stadium, and there was this breeze in the first half which favoured them. They were 2-10 to 6 points up at half time. Now, I mean, like, we were probably at about 4 points each after a quarter of an hour, but they tattooed us for the next quarter.
As Crokes tend to do at
times.
As
they can do. You give them a chance, and they stuck it. But we came back in the second half and eventually ended up winning that game by 5 points. So we turned a 10-point deficit at half time into a 5-point win.
And he
was magnificent. He was magnificent. He scored 2-2 that day. And I still remember his last score where he just fielded the ball, went toe to hand, soloed down, and just popped it over the bar. You know, so
he had a massive presence. Now, interestingly enough, his last game, competitive game, and it will be his last competitive game now that he's announced retirement, was not with his club. Tell me about that, and then you can tell us his last game with the club. His last game was actually with St. Brendan's in Beaufort last October, when Kerins O'Rahillys players and Stacks players were playing with St. Brendan's in the County Championship. And he played in that game at full forward. He came off injured in 48 minutes. They beat Kinmare and Shawnee Shea 16-14. I think Shawnee Shea scored about 10 points or something at that day. And then they went on to the semi-final against Crokes here, but he was injured and couldn't take his part.
That's correct.
That was the game that he missed out, and Crokes won that, and obviously went on to win the county. But his last game with the club was earlier, sometime in September, and it was in Strand Road before a full crowd. I think you might have been covering it, were you? You were not, against Fossa.
I was. Yeah. I remember that. Anything other than what happened in the game? No, I can't remember now. At this stage, but
you're a bit young to be suffering from loss of memory. But anyway, I know what you're saying.
I don't know. Maybe you're different, but we go to so many games.
I know. I can't remember anything about that.
Exactly.
But it was a game we were beaten, obviously, in the quarter final, and we played well up to that. First half got away from us. You know, Fossa were sharp.
So you're David Clifford, David Moran, and Tommy Walsh
on the same pitch, and Paddy Clifford at the same
time.
time.
Only came out half time.
Was it? Yeah, you'd remember.
Look, he was limited. Like, if he was 100% fit, obviously he'd have started. You know, but there was probably only half an hour in him, you know. But again, I suppose the lift that he gave the lads on the pitch was huge coming out, you know, just to see him, and probably put the wind up fast a small bit, you know. But we just didn't have enough to claw it back. You know,
even a lot of youngsters. Clive, despite you being a Mitchells man, I know there is no badness between Mitchells and Strand Road. You would have remembered, and you know, Tommy, I know, your memories of him, fine footballer, wasn't he?
Yeah, and you know, I suppose from a very early age, coming across with under 12 level, the size was, you know, he was always marked out that this guy was going to be a big, strong, excellent footballer. He had all the attributes, had the pedigree, and you know, it was nice. You see some lads go off to Australia, maybe they're young, and they say, oh, you know, we talk about Mark O'Connor, will he come back and try and win the medal? Ty Kennelly went over, came back and won his medal. Tommy had it gone out. You know, Tommy won that medal in 09 and had a huge part in the final, kicked 4 points in play.
That's right, 2 at the right and 2 at the left.
He had a massive impact.
Was he man of the match in that final?
I don't think so.
No,
not man of the match.
I think it was Thomas Sullivan was
man of the match. Man
of the match. But his impact that year and his goal actually the year before really brought him onto the inter-county scene against Cork in the semi-final.
And it was a huge score, Clive.
It was a huge score.
I mean, it showed all his, I suppose, his ability. You know, he brought that ball from about midfield and went through everybody and very subtly then put into the net off his left.
A lovely finish.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lovely photograph. It'll probably be up in the walls in Rreview. It might be up there already in the 19 final at the death. To Dean Rocket a free to win the game, and Tommy is on the goal line with David, ready to lift him in case the ball is to drop shot. Just in case. It was great thinking at the time.
It was.
And it was a rugby style lift. With 2 club mates. I'm sure that photo. There's a great photo of Tommy's dad, Shawnee, that's around.
With Brian Mullins. It's everywhere.
I think that's an iconic photo as well of the 2 club mates. I'm sure it's up somewhere. But you know, it was a lovely moment.
But a legend of the game in Tralee and in Kerry. I mean, he's up there.
And could still, if he decided to come back for the club championship, he would be given defences. Opposition would have to account for him and say how we're going to deal with him. And I'm sure a lot of clubs are glad that Tommy decided to take a break.
Yeah. Well, I think he's 37 since February, and I think the body he would probably been asked, and will you play in the club championship? So I'd say the announcement,
and he was decided, in fairness to him, and he was doing his best to make it. I mean, like as you said, the body just gave up. Like
I was talking to somebody from Strand Road today about it, not you, Pat, but they were telling me that he was very good with young players. The likes of Darragh O'Connor, Conor Hayes, all these youngsters, Thomas Kindy now, giving them advice, giving them encouragement. He was a great influence on the younger players in the club. I
was going to touch on that, Mark, because I suppose like when he came back, like he brought the professional attitude that he left, he brought it back to Strand Road with him. And this was in everything he did. It was seen in training to be the best you could, to do the best you could. But like you had these young fellas who were probably a bit in awe of him. But like he was the most down-to-earth fella in the world. I suppose, or he is, not was. I suppose like we talk about leadership, right? But I mean, give you an instance. I spoke there about Field Rangers the night we played them, and then the following week you knew at 7:30 on Saturday evening you were playing Crokes. The following week, it was 2018, and we went back to Strand Road. I was selector at the time, and we went back to Strand Road, and we sat down, and there was no players there. We're kind of wondering where they are. So Tommy had gathered them together through the WhatsApp group or whatever, and just said to the lads, everybody goes home now tonight. See you in Feen at the morning at 10 a.m. for a swim, for a recovery swim, no exceptions. And that's the kind of leadership
that's what you need.
And commitment, absolutely.
Commitment. From a guy who could have easily said, well, lads, I'll see you tomorrow in Phoenix.
Absolutely. But I mean, this was organised. This was there, 9:45, we're meeting in the club, 10 a.m. in Phoenix.
To finish up on it, obviously Damien, you would have reported in his games and stuff like that. Did he always strike you as a player with that extra bit of class and his size, his mobility, obviously restricted to somewhat because of injuries, but he was always a threat, and there was an air of excitement when you were watching it, when the ball went in. If he catches this, what's he going to do? He was that kind of player, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember it didn't really work out in the end, but the Twin Towers in 2008, remember that himself and Donny were supposed to be the Twin Towers. They were going to take down Tyrone with that. And look, it didn't happen. But then the following year, he got his All Ireland on the field of play against Cork, and he said the 4 points, 2 from either foot. I think like that was his peak.
Yeah,
that was his best day, and he was probably never played better football before or since. And obviously nobody begrudges a fella going to try and make it in Australia, but there is that sort of like, what could Kerry have done if we had Tommy Walsh?
Yeah, in 2011 and 2013.
Yeah, exactly. Would the Dubs would the Dubs 6 in a row and that great team, we might have cut them off the knees a bit if Tommy was still around that time. And the injuries, you wonder as well.
Yeah.
If he was in an amateur environment, and it's a less extreme game.
Demanding.
I don't know. It's a less demanding game, Gaelic football. Although from talking to Gavin White this year, he reckons it's not that case anymore.
Yeah,
but you just wonder how good would Tommy have been had he stayed, because there was still upside to him as a footballer at that stage, because he was that was 2009.
He was only 22.
So he would have been 22 because he won the All Ireland and he won the Ireland
in
4.
2008.
So you just wonder how good could he have been?
How good and how good Kerry could have been.
Could have been
like we wonder about Mark O'Connor, but that's what he still was a huge player for his club right up to now. He's retired.
We've said here he was still contributing under Eamon a bit, and much more so then under Peter. Peter really got a song out of him, to be fair.
He did. He did.
So
excellent. Wind it up. We got to finish it up. Pat, your final words. What he meant really to Strand Road, we call it. Kerins O'Rahillys.
I suppose, Mark, like certainly the last 4 or 5 years, he's been just a massive influence in the dressing room, massive influence off the pitch. As I say, he carries himself well. He brought the professional attitude to the game, his own commitment, and just one small thing on that. When Shawnee was 60, and back in 2017, all the family were down in Dingle for the weekend. We had a county league game away to Glencar on the Saturday night, and Tommy drove up to that. You know, and I mean, like, you can't put say it was an incredible gesture, absolutely. To break away from the group, his family, and come up and play a club game, and he did it for the club. And that time he was our free taker. Like, he was scoring 6, 7, 8 points a game.
I know Mark wants to wrap up, but I know what you boys think. Just from what you've been saying there, Pat, does he seem like the kind of fella who you'd love to be getting into a development squad and going into the coaching side? He sounds like he has that kind of
he has
personality for it, or
I would even say that charisma. You know, I mean, like, as I say, he knows the athletic side of it. He's professional in what he does. His commitment is 100%. You know, so like, he brings fellas with him, you know, and I mean, and we said, I know we touched on it earlier about in regards to bringing on the younger players, but I mean, like, when Tommy was talking to the dressing room, and he wasn't a fella for big words or saying, look, I've come back from the professional era. I mean, like, his favourite phrase that I ever heard him say in the dressing room was, a pint is a good score. You know, don't pass up a pint. Don't be going for the Hollywood shot or whatever. But if you get a shot, if you get a chance, take it. And a pint was a good score.
Yeah, so that's Tommy Walsh. We wish Tommy all the best in his retirement. It was truly a pleasure to watch him play and to report on his games. And whenever we chatted to him, he wasn't available the whole time to us because inter-county players are not. But if you ever spoke to him, he was always genuine and respectful towards everybody. And I think he was the same. I'd say he was liked by opponents, although not so much when he played and hurt them, but at the same time, he was a pure gentleman. So, yeah, great memories of Tommy. The only time that I have any, that I have any resentment towards Tommy is one night at a house party. There was a lot of Strand Road fellas and things around the place. And I got up, I was woken early around 5 o'clock to go down and find a load of them. This is a long time ago now, to find them in the front room. And I could have got a great interview that day, but I never did that morning. So I'll always regret that. I could have got a great interview. So best of luck, Tommy, in your retirement. And thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Mark.
Lads, for that nice tribute to a great Kerry footballer. Now, to the present crop of Kerry footballers, they did the business despite what Clive said on Saturday leading up to the game. Kerry and Tyrone, you were right in your assessment that Kerry would be too good for Tyrone. How did you see the game? First 20 minutes, we lost a lot of kickouts. We were, 5-2 down, and then we were 5-6 all, and we turned the ball over. They had 2 goal chances. We had coughed up. We had 2 2-pointers. Shawnee and David missed, and he also had one into they both had shots into the keeper. So first 20 minutes, you'd be saying, you know, now that we know who our opponents are, if we do that against Donegal, we're in huge trouble.
Yeah, I suppose they dominated the kickouts, our own kickouts. They took a lot of our kickouts, but they didn't really hurt us on the scoreboard. They had that patch where they got a couple of points ahead early, and they had a couple of more chances that they didn't take. And still they were playing into the breeze. They would have been happy enough. Probably not happy that they didn't hurt us more on the scoreboard, but they struggled in after that. We got to grips in the middle of the field with breaking ball. You know, we discussed it last week on the kickouts. You know, we didn't need a whole pile of possession to really hurt them. We were 3 points up at half time. Having played with a bit of a breeze, losing our kickouts on both sides of both kickouts, and we were still 3 points up. I think there was a moment before the goal, just before we got the goal, that the Tyrone management called Ben McDonald to the sideline. And I think they knew that they were after coughing up chances to be more ahead, and it was to tighten up at the back. David had already fired a warning shot. He'd gone in and blazed wide, and they asked McDonald to sit in front of David, and he got it completely wrong for the goal. He lost complete concentration. David went back door, the ball was played in, and McDonald wasn't in that channel. And when he got there, it was too late. The ball was in the net, and from then on, there was only one winner really.
I don't have my notes with me from the game, but just off the top of my head, something tells me that was that a 4-point swing for that goal? Did Tyrone drop one short just before that?
No, the ball was turned over before it happened. They went in, and it was Gavin White who came out with the ball. And he passed it
out,
out,
wasn't it?
Kick out.
So I think they might have missed.
They kicked out long over the top, and they looked like going in, and the ball just was being passed in, and he caught it, sent it down the wing. I think Joe sent it up. Sean O'Brien got it. Sean sent it to either Paddy or directly to Mike Breen. Mike Breen carries it on. The backdoor pass. It was a beautiful pass.
I think Tyrone had missed down the other way.
They had,
and then it was a 4-point swing with that, and that really turned it in our favour.
But Tyrone, they had a lot of similar type players up front. That's you had Derek Canavan, McElhone, McCurry, they brought on Mac Bradley, they brought on Rory Canavan. They threw nothing different at us. It was the same type of player. They had to win their ball out in front. They couldn't put in a 50-50 ball. We were comfortable enough. And it was a comfortable victory.
Pat, looking at Tyrone, they looked a bit off, and bar that first sort of 15-20 minutes when they won a lot of kickouts. Did you sense that they weren't as maybe proficient as they should be with the chances that they created, and they were running about the place without the usual purpose of Tyrone?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like a lot of the ball that they put in, and certainly in the second half, if you look at the wides that they kicked, I mean, they were in comfortable positions, but their decision making was probably a bit off. Like the one I'm thinking about is Morgan, who was probably looked at beforehand as being a real threat. Like that, you were looking at him, he comes up and he had a chance of a 2-pointer. And he kicks the ball sideways to McGeary, and
that was strange.
Balloons it up in the air.
Yeah.
Now I've seen him do that before, and McGeary popped it over the bar for a 2-pointer. But I mean, it was a very strange decision.
Why not take the one in the bush or whatever and that?
Yeah, but in the context of where they needed to carry momentum, they just didn't do it, and I couldn't figure it out.
Second half, Damien, if you're looking at it. They had a couple of scores, we just a couple of scores, sort of still in the balance up to 40 minutes. But was it, you'd remember, was it from the 41st minute until the 61st minute? 62nd, was it? Roughly 20 minutes.
20 to 21, 22 minutes spell.
They never scored.
They didn't score. We had
Derek Canavan, I think, got the last score in the 40th minute.
Yeah, and I think he broke the famine, we'll call it, as well at the other end, didn't he? Or maybe not? No, it wasn't
maybe
him,
not.
Rory
was it Rory Canavan? It was a Canavan, and we scored 9 in that spell.
Yeah, what happened there? It was like it wasn't as
no, it wasn't as dramatic as what happened against Armagh.
Yeah,
and I don't think we were, even though 9 points in a row suggested, I don't think we were quite as dominant in that spell as we were against Armagh either, because like Pat and Clive have both mentioned it, Armagh, Tyrone had shots in that period, more shots and chances than Armagh did. So it was a bit more even, and just
did Joe Connor going to midfield make a difference?
Well, Joe, even in the first half, I think the kick-out stats in the first half, we did very poorly on our own kick-outs. Did slightly, I think we won 4 out of 11 of theirs, which was but like Joe had won 2 or 3 breaks in the. Joe had won 2 or 3 breaks in the first half already, and then the second half he was just a man possessed. He was just brilliant.
But I think just on that, Damien, and sorry for cutting him.
No, you're fine.
I think like his recovery in defence was nearly as important. I mean, Tyrone were on the attack. The guy was doing toe to hand, and he came in from behind him, tapped the ball away from him into the hands of a Kerry defender coming out.
Yeah.
Those things are really as good as scores.
They're momentum swingers. They're momentum swingers.
Yeah.
But he was just just ball in hand.
Oh yeah.
Is there a better footballer in Ireland with ball in hand? Is there a better man in Ireland to break a tackle? Joe doesn't fear going into contact at all, and why should he? It must be the rugby background to some extent.
It is. He was outstanding. Clive, I'll hand this over to you because you were a tasty corner forward. David Clifford. We run out of superlatives really, but the man is just operating on a different level and has to be judged on a different level probably than everybody else. He has been, and we know since he was knee-high to grasshopper, an outstanding prospect. But this year, he seems to be something different.
Yeah, he was amazing again, but we've come to expect that. It was going to be hard. We spoke about it last week about getting up to the performance levels that we had against Armagh emotionally. And it was that, I won't say it was a bit flatter than Armagh, but it was just to get the job done. And we'd done it, without fuss. I thought Tyrone were flat. I thought they were, as the game were on, it was flatter they got. They were kicking without conviction. But David on the other side, it's just great to watch him. It's the rules obviously help, but these one-on-one contests, he's just got it all. And the defenders don't know what to do. Is he going to kick with his left? Is he going to kick with his right? Is he going to dummy hop? Is he going to dummy solo? Is he going to go at you one-on-one? And if he doesn't do all that, he's slipping someone in for an easy score. So it's impossible. Hansey, Morse, and like Barry McCambridge, the previous game,
he did all right.
they're doing their best.
Yeah.
And it's a lonely job, and that's why you could see they were trying to get Ben McDonald to help, just coming up to that period before half time, not to concede a goal. He loses concentration, and once David had in his hands there, it was goal. And 1-9, that's man of the match territory. Sean, he got it the week before. David still hit 7. It's shaping up to be an unbelievable final.
Did they learn the lesson of Armagh too well? In that, they didn't. They basically focused more on Paddy. They focused more on Shawnee, and actually McGeary and Devlin did very well on them, even though they did fine. But Clifford didn't. They didn't crowd Clifford out of it quite as much as Armagh tried to.
Yeah, and that's what the new rules brings. It's just hard if you were able to bring those 3 extra guys back. Then you have a chance. I know it's going to be a horrible game, and no one wants to see that. But it's the way the rules are set up. Like you can't really step off Paddy, or you can't say we'll step off Shawnee because they will punish you. Like
so you're kind of caught between two stools.
It comes down to your use of possession on the other side, whereas Tyrone didn't use the ball they had early well, and any bit of scraps we were getting, I know we had a few sharks, but we were clinical enough.
Is he markable, Clive? Is he markable by one man, or do you need help?
Oh, you definitely need help. Yeah. And look, there's
Donegal will have a system.
Absolutely, McGuinness will have, but he will come up with something that he would think will work. Whether it'll work, remains to be seen. Help is obviously needed, but there is going to be the day where, every player in history has had an off day, and that's not down to he was well marked or he was beaten. You can just do all the right things and have an off day. And I think teams are waiting for David to have the off day, but an off day to David could be 1-6.
Yeah. The day, remember the day? Was it Paul Flynn? Somebody said that he was smoked after the 23 final. It's a 23 final, and I think he'd still scored 3 or 4 points, and there's been other days then when
set up a goal
and then Sean Meehan has done well in him in Munster finals for Cork, and the other Cork fullback whose name escapes me at the moment, and Hampsey's done well, Daniel O'Mahony, and Hampsey's done well in them days. But even on those days, you're saying, they did well. David's still getting off 2 or 3 points at minimum, so he just is a phenom. He's just a different gravy.
Pat, let's look at the defence. We were opened a few times. Shane Ryan saved us on one occasion with a great save from, was it Donnelly?
McCurry.
McCurry had a poor game, I thought, but he said not alone did he miss that, he turned the ball over and we got a score off it, and he kicked a bad wide. So, and they were kind of one after the other. So the goal miss seemed to affect them. But thinking about our defence, I thought our half-back line was excellent.
Half-back line worked in fairness. like you've 3 speedsters at this stage. Do you know? I mean, Brino Bigley, Gavin White, we know all about their pace. Mike Breen as well, and I think Mike Breen reads again very well. But like for the likes of Brino Bigley, I mean, I'd always been a fan of his, but I mean, I'm looking at him when he's going forward now because of the 3 back. There is more space. So once he beats the first man, he's invariably in either to lay the ball off or even take a score. I thought Gavin White has shown huge leadership this year. He's been outstanding against Armagh. Pace, yeah. And I think like that they're not taking that many risks either. You know, I mean, they're going forward when they see the chance. But like they're not like before. Maybe Gavin was taking the ball into contact a small bit too much. But again, we're talking about a different game now. Do you know what I mean? So
Mark was asking as well just there about what helped turn the game.
Yeah.
Gavin had 3 breaks. At least 2 of them were against the head around that sort of 40 to 50 minute mark. It kind of helped, and we're kind of saying about kickouts as well. Maybe they're not as important as kickouts kill, but they are important, and that helped cut Tyrone's momentum at a crucial time in the game. Turned it around. You could hear the Kerry crowd getting behind. Anytime he got on one of those breaks, there was a huge Kerry crowd up. There was a huge Kerry roar, and I do think that helped swing the momentum of the game towards Kerry at that stage.
Clive, did Kerry play a more rounded game, if you want to put it that way, against Tyrone rather than the flash 15-minute flood and scoring surge that killed off Armagh? Was this better from Kerry, particularly in the second half?
As we're going back to the Armagh game again, they were coming into that with, you could say, temper. You know, there was a lot of anger, temper, hurt in the camp that they were going to just blow whatever came their way out of the water, and it was an emphatic, 32 points kicked that day. Then they had to come down from that and get up again for Tyrone, which is hard to do. And as I said, they've done it. It was about getting the job done, getting over the line, getting to an All-Ireland final, and then getting your levels back up to where they were for Armagh for the final. We spoke last week about Tyrone and they'd be well set up, and I wasn't overly impressed by them. As the game went on, we're talking about Niall Morgan's free. I mean, you're bringing the goalie up to kick a 2-pointer and he kicks it short. They were very indecisive. Michael McKernan came on, he had a couple of wides. They were pot shots more than anything. And as I said, they didn't have a plan B where they could say, right, they're bringing in X now into the full forward line who's going to a different. It was the same guys they were regurgitating, and they didn't. Like McCurry was probably beaten after 10 minutes by Jason Foley. He was kept scoreless mentally. He was blocked out of it.
And he started well enough, McCurry. He got ball, but there was no end product.
No, or he couldn't penetrate past Jason. Derek Canavan was a bit more brighter, but it was the same. The ball going into them had to be perfect, whereas we could, if under pressure, we can launch a 60-40 ball against David and he'll win it.
That makes a difference.
It's big help.
Yeah, big help. Pat, the decision by Tyrone to play McElhone, who was brilliant with the under-20s. We have Tomas Kennedy from your own club in there, and he got a taste of the action, but he wouldn't be started. Okay, he's probably a year younger than McElhone, but I mean, it didn't work out for him. I didn't think he might have been better coming off the bench when some of the Kerry players were tired, because he will be a very good player, I'm sure of it. But I thought that decision, when you put it against the decision that Jack and his manager had taken of saying, Paul Ganey, you're not right, you're not 100%, so you're staying there. If we need you for the last 10 minutes, we'll introduce you. If we don't, and hopefully we'll win. So decision making from both sides, I thought Kerry won that one as well.
Yeah, well, I suppose like McElhone was a fabulous player and a fabulous underage player, but I mean, to step from under 20 into senior level, you're not going to do that. No. And I mean, I suppose we have to remember that it's under 20 now, not under 21, which to me, maturity as well as physicality, it's a big game for him. It was a bit left field for Tyrone, hoping that they'd throw you, but after 15-20 minutes, we had figured him out, and I just thought he'd clown a bit of a loan for up later on,
Dinian, our bench comment. Killian came on, kicked 2 points, wasn't it?
2 points, and he had another 2 chances on top of that, one for a goal, I think, and one for so he was dangerous, he was sharp. He doesn't want to be a super sub, I'm sure, but he's nailed on for super sub role for the All-Ireland final. He's done it before. That's helpful. What I was like, they to be honest, most of the guys who came off the bench, they didn't really stand out because the game was basically.
How did you rate them?
I don't know what I gave them. Sixes and 7s and things like that. Because by the time they came on, the race was run by about 57, 55, 50. I remember looking up at the clock at around 57 and kind of thinking, oh God, we could do double scores here. But I think we eased off we eased off the gas. But that said, still nice to get more minutes into Evan Looney, and more importantly, we had Tyke Morley and Tony Brosnan, who had been on the injury list the previous week. Now they've got 10, 15 minutes or whatever it was. They got probably less than 15 minutes, and they're a step closer to being able to really impact in an All-Ireland final. So, our squad is getting stronger as we head into this final. I know we'll probably talk maybe next week, but you have the three boys who were the three?
Paul
Gainey, Tom Sullivan, and Diarmuid O'Connor are possibles. More than likely not, but they're possible. So Kerry are getting a bit stronger in the squad, and like we said, we'll need that against a very strong.
And unless we had those injuries, we probably wouldn't. Mark O'Shea, Evan Looney certainly wouldn't. Sean O'Brien. They wouldn't have got time.
Absolutely.
Not a lot. So in one way,
the injuries have probably helped Kerry. In a
perverse way.
In a perverse way. You don't want to see anyone getting injured, but it's given that, and it's also kind of maybe just kind of like, you just listed 2 or 3 guys there who might have been maybe 24, 25, might have got a few minutes at most. But all of a sudden, there's serious fire in that squad that, oh Jesus, there's actually places up for grabs here. Yeah. So it might have even just helped with the motivation and with the buzz in the panel and everything. I know nobody wants to see anyone get injured. I'm not saying it's a good thing.
By the way, I can't wait to have a look at your ratings in the paper, but what did you give David Clifford?
9.
What does David Clifford have to do?
You said it yourself. You said it yourself about 20 minutes ago. We have to rate him by a different standard to everyone else.
Yeah, well, the standard is that he gets a straight 10. Everybody else gets 8.5 and 9. That's what I meant. We have a guy from another planet, and we have him down as a 9. Can you imagine? He scores, what was it, Clive? 1-9. That I would give him 10 alone. For the 2-pointer, the ball that came in, that he was down on the deck, that he got up and with his left peg.
You're obsessed with the player ratings.
You're obsessed with the player ratings. Because you are so bad at them. Anyway, moving swiftly along to Clive. Listen to me, Clive. What do we have to do, without going into specifics for Donegal, that'll be next week's job, what do we have to do to improve to be able to compete and possibly beat Donegal? Are there areas that worried you, other than the fact that you were charged $10.50 for a pint in the Boar's Head, where it was in Dublin?
I don't mind.
All right.
They're too dear.
What are we going to do? I think if you look back, just going back a bit to the 2014 final, Kerry and Donegal, it was built up as the Donegal won the All-Ireland 2 years previously. It was McGuinness with the blanket defence. He kind of spooked teams.
And a tree.
And a tree appeared in outside Fitzgerald Stadium. Yeah, and it was a cagey All-Ireland final. I think Eamon Fitzmaurice got his tactics spot on. They moved the placement of James O'Donoghue out the field. Aidan O'Mahony blotting Michael Murphy out of the game. And
blotting? What word did you use?
Blotting him out of the game.
Yeah, that's respectable, yeah.
And we won. It was a low scoring final. It was 2-9 to 12 points.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and I think next week it's going to be high scoring by both teams. It's going to be,
and they can't drop. They have to keep.
We're looking
up,
at
so
we're looking at both teams hitting. Both teams could hit 25 plus in this final next week because of the caliber of player, and it'll come down to breaking ball. Who are getting the opportunities to attack. Yeah. Can we tighten up? Yeah, we'll be looking to tighten up. I mean, look, as I said last week, it's hard to judge the scoring or what's a respectable score to give away now because of the rules. There's so much space. There's so much one-on-one defending where teams didn't have to do that in the last couple of years. It's going to be high scoring. We have obviously the firepower to put up a big score.
We have David Clifford.
We have the firepower.
We have
But
David
10
Clifford
out
plus.
of 10. Yeah.
But I wouldn't say we were profligate. I think we had 13 missed chances, but we could have had 5 or 6 goals. Joe O'Connor's 2 points that he
We
kicked.
must start scoring goals.
We probably should, and that's what,
I think
that's
Morgan
what
made a
we
great
need
save.
to.
What do you think? Yeah, don't be afraid to put in there because the lads do dominate things. Pat,
I would agree with the assessment about goals. I mean, like if you looked at what we had 120, if we were 520, I don't think Tyrone could complain. I mean, Joe's two points were 2 goal chances. Dylan Gainey equally.
That was a tricky enough one. In fairness, he was quite a wide angle and off the left.
Paddy Clifford had another one where he didn't get the shot off. Sean O'Brien turned on to his right when he's probably more naturally left-footed inside the square. I mean, there's 6 goals.
David had one that flashed wide, but he was for power, but he was trying for a goal, top corner, but it actually flashed wide.
And I think that was. Excuse me. I think that was before his goal, wasn't it?
That was the warning shot.
Yeah, that was the warning.
That was
shot.
it.
So I suppose I'd be happy. Like I mean, that you're creating chances. It's one thing. If you weren't creating them, I'd be more worried. But just a bit more clinical.
But yeah, I mean. I don't know. Like I haven't totted it up now in my head, but I'd imagine we were somewhere around 60% conversion rate, and I think against Armagh we were 70, we were 75, 76, 77. It was off the charts. But if you could get somewhere in between, that would give you a serious chance.
But we're looking forward to a great final, obviously. And Sunday, did you get home in time to watch Donegal?
I did.
You did. Yeah. What did you think of them?
Very, very, very impressive. They have runners from everywhere. They have football to burn, serious power. They have big men. They don't have the problem that Clive was saying about Tyrone, and that they're not samey. They have different types of forwards. Obviously, you've Michael Murphy and you've McBurty off the bench, and you've all these other guys. They're very impressive. I think a lot of people, maybe in the national press and that the kind of punditocracy of the country, would probably have them installed as favourites. And there's a case to be made for it. To be fair, they were that impressive. But at the same time, if we had taken a few more of those goals, people would probably be thinking that we were just as impressive as they were the day after.
We could have won by 15 or 20 points.
Yeah, exactly. Same as them.
Against a
better team.
Because Clive, as I said to you earlier, and you corrected me, Meath really didn't show up on the day. I know they beat us, but really mid-table Division 2, didn't win the Leinster Championship. Louth won that. So basically, it was there for...
Bridge too far, maybe.
You put it as a bridge too far. They could say, okay, they would have loved to have won the Leinster. I'm sure they'd have given up beating Kerry and progressing if they could have won the Leinster. That was a big part of their season. But it was a step too far. I think last weekend they went for 2-pointers earlier on. They threw all their chips and that. They didn't come off. But Donegal were Donegal. They were clinical. They were systematic. Even at the end, we're talking about there was no foot off the pedal. It was just robotic.
Do you think that Meath made a mistake in that they were maybe trying to set up to prevent 2-pointers and they ended up conceding goals as a result?
Yeah, they were very open at the back.
I did. They seemed like a team who were happy to be there. Happy to be there, and no matter what happened, the season was a success now, and there was progress made.
And it was a success, yeah.
And they were going to give it a lash, and they went for to get their own score up rather than what they were going to concede in the other end. But it was a step too far. But they made massive progress, and
they played Robbie Brennan.
He did a serious job.
A serious job. They came from really nowhere. Well, they had been struggling and look where they are now. So they have a future as well. Quick mention to our neighbours, Limerick. I know both of you would have seen that game or the end of it anyway. so unlucky not to grab a draw. What progress by Jimmy Lee and the Limerick footballers, in fairness, Damien. They've done a massive job, Pat, haven't they?
Yeah, they were fantastic altogether. I mean, it was a very enjoyable game, you know, and I mean, I suppose for Kildare, it probably means more for them to win it, to get back into the Sam Maguire.
Should they be in the competition in the first place?
Kildare, I suppose.
I mean,
You know,
they qualified obviously for it,
yeah.
the position they
I
were in.
suppose maybe
But
that's-
they really should be, we'd say,
Up there with Meath.
up there with Meath and with Monaghan and all those. That they should be in Cork. They should be up there.
I would agree, but I mean, like if you look when it's a couple of years since I won a number 21, Brian McLaughlin was probably one of their best players in for forward.
The big Kerry.
He came in the last day and did a good job.
Yeah.
Like Limerick probably didn't have that caliber of player, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, but look, they were as close as could be. I mean, as you say, it was a good year for them.
Clive, Limerick, isn't it great to see? I mean, it is a hurling county basically. They're looking for a sort of football ambassador, somebody there who would, Tony Buckley, who would go into schools and things. And they also speak about having a team. There's no team in the Cornivaree. We say the same about hurling, mind you, that we should have a team in the Harty Cup. We did have 3 CBS and the True South, which we'll discuss another day. So don't get me started in the Harty Cup. Don't get me started in the Munster PPS. Just don't, because I'll go on a rant and we'll be here till midnight. But do you think that the Limerick football team, you know, that there is a chance there of them, along with Clare maybe, in making progress? Should it be to get up another division, or will they ever be a threat in Munster?
Well, the progress they made under Jimmy Lee and Billy before him has been done on the back of without underage success, really. You know, they haven't had minor teams or 21 teams that have been testing Kerry really at that level.
Possibly not since the late Liam Kerins probably had that 21 team 20
So
something years
the
ago.
work they're getting, and the buy-in, obviously they got a big buy-in from that squad to produce the season. They won Division 4 and they got to the Talton final. I know Michael Cahill is with them as well. He used to play football with Mitchells. He's in Limerick.
All right, so he's definitely up to his game since, has he?
You can see the Mitchells work coming out and influence there last Saturday. But it was a cracking game, and I won't say I was surprised, but Limerick played very good football last Saturday.
Yeah.
Did some great scores. Their keeper was outstanding, as good as what's around. Josh Ryan. Yeah, he was outstanding from kickouts and frees, and he set up some attacks with booming kickouts.
He used to play full forward.
Yeah.
I mean, he did some serious injuries, so he went back into goal. You know, I mean, his kick out was incredible.
Incredible.
But does it not kind of, you know, like you were saying there, will they ever be able to challenge for Munsters and for Kerry?
Yeah.
But isn't the whole point of it that the I was going to call it the Joe Mac, the Talton, that's what it is. It is for these counties to have a realistic chance of winning something.
Wicklow, for Wicks, for you know, for what for these teams. But I don't think it is for Kildare and Meath who could slip into it. You know, there was a stage last year, the year before, when Cork could have slipped down to Talton.
But the rules are the rules. And if you go back, look at our own county championship here when Stacks and Raddies, you know, went down and said, "Oh, should they? You know, how are they going down there to good at?" We're intermediate as well.
All right, sorry.
As trying to get out of it.
Where are the Raddies now, Pat?
We're still in the middle.
So that's the rules are the rules.
Premier Junior promoted.
So
it is
they're there on merit.
Yeah.
They're on the Talton on merit.
On merit, okay. So you're the rules and regulations, man.
That's
How
it.
come there Kilmiley, Ballyhigh, Causeway and half now Kerry playing with Adverton?
I don't make those rules.
So that's how it is the rules as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So listen, that's it, lads. I'd like to thank you very much. We've looked back on the Kerry Tyrone game. We will preview and we'll have a good lengthy topical. John Kennedy will be back hopefully, and Dowdy, he'll hate missing this, won't he? Because he wanted to tell me that I was wrong about the kickouts last week. But I can now say that I was right about the kickouts. John was completely wrong. And it was when we started winning their kickouts in the second half that we started to prosper and went on and won the game and beat Tyrone. So I think I was right. I think John was wrong. he's not in a position to answer, so when he listens to watch this, sorry John, I couldn't help it. Now, thanks to Demo, thanks Damien for making time. Pat, as a guest,
Thanks,
thank
Mark.
you, and particularly about Tommy Walsh, and you were a very valuable and knowledgeable man as well on Kerry, as you are. Are you native of where? Cork?
Now Kerry, then. Yeah.
Are you not Kerry?
Absolutely, yeah.
I always
The
thought
Valley
you
of
were a Cork
Knockanoor.
man. Oh, the Valley of Knockanoor.
Yeah.
Oh God, I was out there for a camogie game in Knockanoor, and lovely pitch.
Yeah.
And dressing rooms, everything, but only snipe and bogland and everything around it. But it was I apologise to anyone in Knockanoor. As always, Clive, you are a fountain of knowledge. Thank you very much for your contribution. And if I offended you in any way, I'm sorry. And thanks to JC O'Shea for producing and having the patience. Now that's around the 50 minutes, I think, which is excellent for us. We normally go on for hours. I'd like to thank you for listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube. And we will be enjoying the All Ireland hurling final on Sunday, and then next week and Sunday week will be our big day back in Croke Park again, and we're really getting excited and looking forward to it. I think Damon Stack even has buntings out in his house in Ballybunnan. But for now, I'd like to say goodbye, and we'll be back. Don't forget, next week. And if you want to comment on any of the stuff that we have said, or listen to agree or disagree, do that as well. So bye for now, and we'll be back next week.